Do you want to know how to have the best FPS in Vanguard while also increasing your visibility in-game? Well, today I'm going to show you guys how to increase your FPS, boost your visibility, which is overall going to help you play better in the actual game. Hey guys, what is going on? It is your boy J King, and today I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how to increase your FPS and also visibility in Call of Duty Vanguard. These are two aspects of your gameplay that is pretty much going to help you win gunfights. You're going to have a smoother game with FPS, lower input lag, and also better visibility to see players in dark corners and things like that. Make sure to stick around for the end. There are some huge settings for console and PC players that you must turn on to get the best experience in Call of Duty Vanguard. Before we begin today's video, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy the content. Also hit that subscription button down below, ring that bell for more content just like this. We have a lot of Vanguard content coming up and I'm excited to show you it. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right guys, so hopping right into it, we're going to be heading into the settings section and we are going to go over to graphics. Now first thing you're going to notice is I run the game in full screen borderless. It's because I stream and I do a lot of things while the game is running and I don't want to have to alt tab all the time. But if you want the best experience in the game with the lowest input lag, you're gonna want to be running it on full screen. That's pretty much just going to give you the lowest input lag and it's going to pretty much make the game run just a little bit better. Resolution, keep this on whatever your monitor is. Usually a lot of you guys are going to have 1920 by 1080. Refresh rate, you're going to set this at the highest possible setting. It's 165 for me. I have a 165 hertz monitor. This is essentially going to take advantage of every single possible frame that your monitor can output. VSync, you're going to make sure that VSync gameplay is off. You can have it on in the menus if you want, but do not have VSync on during gameplay. It's going to increase your input lag and it's not going to be good. Frame rate limit, I have this limited because sometimes my PC can run hot, but there is advantages to running it unlimited. Even if your monitor is capped at 165 or 120, running the game above that frame rate, say at 200 frames, is going to give you lower input lag than if you did not run it at that high level. So there is advantages to running it higher, but I keep it down just to make sure that my PC is staying cool, especially while streaming. Aspect ratio, make sure it is pretty much automatic. I think 16:9 is pretty much standard for everyone unless you have sort of like a different aspect ratio monitor. Display gamma, I do recommend keeping this on 2.2 if you have a monitor. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys will have monitors, but even if you don't, focus mode doesn't really matter. Make sure your display adapter is on your actual GPU. Now, on-demand texture streaming is a newly added feature in Vanguard. What it essentially does is it actually downloads textures to your game while you're playing to make the textures look a little bit better. But this is actually having some issues right now with packet loss. Essentially, if you have this on, you're going to be getting more packet loss than if you don't, even if your internet's really good. So as for right now, keep it off. Maybe you could test it out and see if you turn it on, are you having more connection issues. But overall, it's just a thing to make your game just look a little bit better, and it's not really going to do anything different, and it's pretty much just going to cause more problems than it solves. So as for right now, keep on-demand texture streaming off. Now in quality, we're going to obviously have a custom preset. I have this on 100. If you're having FPS issues on your GPU side of things, you could turn the render resolution down to around 90. If you go below that, the game's going to start looking really bad. 95 is a pretty good target. It helps you get a little more frames, but also not really make the game look that much worse. Now in this game, we have a lot of things on low to medium, except a few key details. For textures, you want to have it on medium. I found this to be the best performance to visual ratio. If you go too low, you're not really getting any more frames than medium, but the game is going to look a lot worse. And high had a pretty high impact on the amount of frames that it's taking off, so medium was the best setting here. For most of these, we're gonna have low to even very low in some situations. A lot of this doesn't really impact gameplay, and it's just sort of like particle effects and things like that that really doesn't matter. So just sort of go through this video and see what your settings are. I have low for the texture filter. Particle quality level very low. That's just sort of like gun tracers and things like that. Doesn't really matter. Again, particle resolution, I have this on. This is probably best turned off, but I'm not really sure if it has any gameplay impact, so I leave it on. Shader quality I have on high. I found this doesn't really have that much of a performance on impact. Tessellation off. As far as these level of detail for both near and distance, they don't have an impact on character models. So I have these all on low. If there is sort of anything that is going to impact the visibility of characters, shadows, we're going to be turning that up, even if it decreases FPS a little bit. But these are all on low. For shadows, there's not really a player shadow setting on here. Really, shadows, there is sort of a gameplay advantage if there is a setting for player shadow, like there was in Black Ops 4, where you could potentially see the shadow of an enemy character. This could be potentially good in some situations. I know it's really good in CSGO and things like that, but in this one, there is not a setting for it. So all of these shadows are going to go on low to make sure we are getting the best FPS, as shadows have a pretty big impact on FPS on the GPU side of things. So I have these all on low over here for the shadows. Ambient occlusion I have on both just to make the game look a little bit nicer. It doesn't really have an impact on performance. Screen pace reflection I have off. Make sure to turn this off. This is a huge performance hit. Now here is probably the most important thing if you are on PC. And then there's another important thing if you are on console. Now, whichever sort of GPU you have, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD, you're going to want to be turning on either NVIDIA DLSS for NVIDIA cards, or you're going to want to be turning on this setting, which is essentially the AMD version of DLSS. Pretty much this is the biggest thing that is going to increase your FPS while not really degrading the visual quality by that much. I have it on performance here, and honestly, the game does not look that bad. It doesn't look any worse than if I have it off, but the FPS boost is something that is really, really good. So definitely have this on. If you have an AMD card or an NVIDIA card, have one of these on, whichever one that corresponds to your card. It's going to boost your FPS, and it's going to make the game play a lot smoother, and it's going to pretty much help you play better. Now, if you are on console, they do have this option for Fidelity FX. What this essentially does, it essentially makes the game look better, and there really isn't that much of a performance decrease on the console. Again, console is a little bit different. There really isn't sort of like an unlimited amount of frames that you can get, but a lot of people have said that putting it at 0.85 is really, really good. I've tried that out on a PC and it looks really, really good. It doesn't really decrease performance on the PC side of things, so it's not going to decrease performance on console, and overall makes the game looks nicer. The sad part about it is you cannot have this on if I have NVIDIA DLSS on, so I'm taking the performance over visual quality, but you could test it out for yourself. Maybe your PC is really, really strong, you don't need DLSS, and maybe you just want to have a little bit of bump of visual quality that's going to help with your visibility of enemies. But overall, this is an important setting that if you are on console, you're going to want to enable. I have depth of field on. This is pretty much up to player preference. There really isn't a gameplay advantage to this, so it's really up to you if you want depth of field on or not. As you can see from this picture, it's either going to blur your nearby objects or it's not. Heading over to gameplay, this is obviously a big thing for console players now. Those of you who didn't play Cold War and see it there, you now have an option for field of view. Field of view is essentially going to zoom your player camera out, and this is actually pretty important. Seeing your surroundings in an FPS means pretty much seeing an enemy if they run by you or not. I have mine set on 113. This is pretty much what I've used in every Call of Duty. A lot of people will use 105. Some people might even use 120 if you're a really aggressive SMG player. But if you get above sort of 113, you're going to be seeing that enemies far away are really, really small on your screen. So there is a trade-off. I would start at 105. That's sort of like the benchmark, the sweet spot for a lot of people. If you want to have it higher, then go for it. You can adjust it. But one of the biggest settings that you want to turn on is ADS field of view affected. This is actually going to minimize the amount of visual recoil you have on your gun. I'm not sure why this works, but it just does. So turn this on affected. It's going to help you out a lot in your gunfights. Camera movement is on 100. I don't really see the benefits of messing with that at all. And then please, please, please turn off motion blur. Do not have motion blur on, please. I'll get upset with you if you do. And also, if you do have an NVIDIA card, turn NVIDIA Reflex low latency on. This is going to help your input lag pretty substantially. I have this on plus boost. I don't notice the performance decrease at all. Again, if you're having trouble with it for whatever reason, try to just turn it to the on selection, but on plus boost works for me. It doesn't really have any negative side effect, and it decreases your input lag, which is really, really important in an FPS. So anyway, guys, that is today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Make sure to leave a like if you did, and I will see you guys in the next one.